Okay. All right. I am Kelly Sullivan. I am the executive director for the IBE, and today I'm here with Thiago, who attended our program in April of 2018. It's hard to believe that that Paris program was that long ago now, but I'm really happy that you're here with me today, and I want to talk to you about your experience. So the first thing, just a level set with everyone. Did you already have a company formed when you came to the IBE program?
So yes, when I came to the IB in 2018, we were starting a consultancy company and services company. It was Daniel and me, and we were helping early stage pharmaceutical companies. We were providing them with still figuring out what would be the best business model. So we used to help the companies set up their operations or pave the way for operating in Latin America. But then we started focusing on clinical stage companies who do not market any drugs. So little by little, we were focusing on the clinical stage piece. But at the time, we weren't so focused on that. Let's put it like that. We were still
Gotcha.
in general consultancy and mapping what their real needs were in the region.
Great. And so, did you bring that problem, like trying to define your market, to the IBE? Was that one of the things you were hoping to get out of your session when you were there?
Yeah, so when we were the main goal to with the IB is that so we do not support companies with the, let's put it like raising money, for example, which are the core, right? Raising money to develop a technology from scratch, or like technically, I don't provide technical support to the technologies they are developing, but we interact with these people. We interact with these companies and the people who are in this market. So the main goal was to understand how the market works in that stage. Who are the players, how things are funded, what's the history of such a type of company, so we could interact better with the companies in the stage we are helping. So if you consider we are helping companies from clinical stage to market authorization to commercialization, if you get the first companies which are in clinical stage, they just came from the environment of raising money for developing their technologies. So by knowing how the market works and what's the history and everything related to that stage of any biotech company, we could interact better and understand better the minds of our clients and
Perfect.
their reality. Yeah.
Perfect. And so, what do you think the biggest takeaway was? Like, what do you think helped you most having attended the IBE program?
So yeah, on our side, so the technical piece, I'm a PharmD. I have at least a basis to understand and study my clients' technologies and everything. But understanding what it takes to connect someone or some company or some group of people, of like students, PhDs, whatever, what filling the gap between them and the funding and
Hmm.
what happens later, right? So in that stage, you understand how to organize the business to make a technology become grow until it gets to clinical stage, and then form a company. So we understand a little bit the recent history of the clients we were approaching and being approached by. So
Okay.
we could talk their language. And then get to know a little bit more. So by understanding their past, whenever they were sharing the company's history, by knowing how it works in general terms, what fills this gap, we understood better. And then if you really understand what happened or what should happen, you can map a little bit more and connect the dots between what can I offer them now, since their history is this, for them to keep growing and achieve their goals.
That's great. So if you were talking to somebody who was thinking about attending the IBE, what would you tell them? Who do you think would be a good candidate for attending the IBE?
Being far from my university environment, where, well, at least in Brazil, is where like people would most need. I'm talking about only who most need, but there are more that I can mention. So I reached out to them to get some ideas for my project. For example, I got a colleague who was really developing, starting a company, and he was developing a new way of purifying water for some specific types of production lines. So these types of early entrepreneurs, they really need this in Brazil. I think they would benefit very much from what I learned, how to put together, what questions to make to oneself. I think this is a real game changer. And when I talk to some colleagues involved in this area, so the tools that I learned on how to create the project, how to create the final presentation, which ends up being a presentation, makes someone make the right questions to themselves, challenge their own project. So the best ways to do that, I think, is beneficial for everybody. And for sure, we are talking about raising money in the US or in Europe, but then this is really helpful for them to really dive in what could we leverage from those examples and who would be the people that could raise money here. I think also investors here could learn that, because Brazil is not a big hub in the world for developing early technologies. Our brains, capable people end up leaving the country and working in the US, working in Europe, and the investors do not have that as first thing in their mind. So if they understood what does a technology project need to have to be worth an investment, and the risk, but the investment, it could be like two things. The people developing the technologies getting the knowledge of how to present this, and consequently what questions do to themselves to analyze their project and work on the gaps before putting together the presentation, they would be ready. And on the investor side, they would, it's like, since it's not a hub, people don't understand this gap too much. They don't think about this, but the technologies are here. They are being developed here as well. They just don't end up becoming companies or being developed until the end. So if investors knew, they could make the right questions to the people developing the technologies, because it's an opportunity for them. So investors in Brazil end up investing in other things or going abroad. They could, for their benefit of having the opportunity of developing local technologies, do the right questions, orientate the Brazilian people who are developing technologies to work on their gaps and prepare a proper presentation so they can properly analyze if it's feasible, if in a risk benefit analysis this would be good. So I think this would help the region.
So quick question on the pitch deck. Did you use your pitch deck that you built during the IBE after you left to help get investors on board?
No, actually, no, because I never reach out to investors. So my
Okay.
company provides, services and brings clinical research projects to Latin America. But I used a lot the idea of how to organize the ideas, how to show the project, or many other skills that were worked during the session to help me build my presentations toward my goals, which was a service provider goals, not related to that directly. But all the thought and the orientations that we were giving towards building that project, I use that a lot in my daily routine since the session. It helped me organizing my ideas, challenging my own projects, despite the fact they were not the same, there were other things, but challenging my own projects. And always, the mindset of presenting to an investor where you have to really find a way to present things in a summarized way, but also complete
Hmm.
and the language of who is hearing. So all those and many other inputs that were given and worked and motivated during our work of preparing our project for the session, I applied those skills for building my company since then.
Great. That's great. Anything else you want to add about your IBE experience or any questions you have about where the IBE is today before we wrap this up?
No, I just think it's very good. And as you know, I'm a service provider, so I don't apply directly the tools. But I'm glad to see the people who work more closely with the core subject of the IB. They really use the tools they learn it. So it was very pleasant to me to connect with the people and see what the impacts are on someone more involved with the core subject of the sessions. And it's amazing for me to see that despite the fact I'm not in translational medicine, I'm not talking to investors, building technologies from scratch, I interact with people who lived those pieces early time ago, just before getting to the stage where they need my support in the region. And when I mentioned that I mentioned in the beginning, it's really important to know how that part of the business work and what's their reality. So they just came from that reality. I can speak their language when reaching out to them and helping them expand the moment they currently are. So it was really beneficial in that perspective. Yeah.
That's
I'm
great.
available.
Well, thank you. Awesome. Well, it was really great talking to you. Thanks for taking the time and look for your celebrity post on LinkedIn soon.
Bye bye.
Bye.